Hello, teachers and parents. This is for 2 Samuel chapter 3. This chapter ends with the people of Israel just going nuts for how much they love David and how he can't seem to do a single thing wrong, and they love him to death, and that's dangerous. It opens with this list of wives that David has taken in verses 1 through 5. And as we talked about last week, as we taught in last week's lesson, there was never a point at which God condoned polygamy, and men of God who partook in it suffered for it. David especially. You're going to see how massively dysfunctional David's family becomes later on. Now, in verse 6, we pick up with this guy that we met before named Abner. Abner was Saul's cousin and was the commander of Saul's army. He was really the guy with the power in Israel. You had like Israel in the north and then Judah. There are also the guys across the Jordan River, but we sort of count those with Israel. In chapter 2, there's this fight that breaks out. There's this feud between Israel and Judah, the relatives of Saul, Israel's first king that has passed away at the beginning of this book, at the end in 1 Samuel chapter 31, and Judah, which is under the leadership of David, who has been anointed to be king. He was anointed and called to be king, but he's only king of Judah, not king of the whole big picture just yet. Abner is an integral part of this whole feud. He puts Ishbosheth, who is one of Saul's other sons, on the throne, but he really is the one running the show. He's the commander of the army. He has no political power, at least not in his title, but he's really the one who controls Ishbosheth, partially because Ishbosheth is terrified of Abner, as you're even going to read as you go through the text. In verses 6 and 7, Ishbosheth oversteps his bounds big time. All right, we have this civil war that's going on now. It started off as this stupid gladiator type fight in chapter 2, and now it's become a full-blown civil war between Israel and Judah. The two main portions of God's chosen nation. And Ishbosheth finally gets some boldness and decides he's going to act like he's a king, but he's real sneaky about it. He insults Abner massively by accusing him of having slept with one of Saul's concubines. This would have been perceived as a treasonous expression of disloyalty to the throne. And Abner objects wholeheartedly because he's been nothing but loyal to Saul all along. And he even reminds Ishbosheth and puts him in his place. Like, look, I could have handed you over to David, but I haven't. And then it's about to go down. So Abner is so massively insulted because of Ishbosheth's accusation. You can read in verse 8, he says, am I a dog's head? Am I on Judah's side? And he completely says, you know what? Okay, that's it. I didn't have anything to do with this woman. You're accusing me of sleeping with one of Saul's concubines, which would have meant that I had no respect for his throne. Well, all I've done is I've brought us to civil war out of my loyalty to Saul's throne. So, you know what? I'm going to give your throne to David. And then what follows immediately after that is Abner goes to the tribes. He goes and meets with the Benjaminites too at one point to bring them along with it. He's going to make his case and go to David and say, David, it's all yours. Before he does though, he must run an errand for David. And this is another one of the reasons why it's a bad thing that the people of Israel end up thinking that David can do no wrong, because he's a complete jerk. At this point, in verse 13, good, said David to this messenger, I will make an agreement with you, but I demand one thing of you. Do not come into my presence unless you bring Michal, the daughter of Saul, when you come see me. Then David sent the messengers to Ishbosheth, son of Saul, demanding, give me the wife of Michal, whom I betrothed to myself for the price of 100 Philistine foreskins. Gross. Basically, the point is, like, I killed all these Philistines. I earned Saul's daughter's hand in marriage. Now, the process of it, though, is just so tragic. Verses 15 and 16 are two of the saddest verses to me in the whole book of 2 Samuel, because you have I mean, like it's a different kind of sadness, of course. Not talking about all the death that goes on, which is a lot. But this is heartbreak. This guy Paltiel, his wife, is taken from him and given to David, and he follows them all the way to Bahurim, which is this other city, and he's just chasing down the caravan, weeping loudly, calling out to his wife, and that's just tragic to me. And then Abner, everybody apparently is afraid of Abner, the commander of commander of this army. Abner tells him to go home. I mean, Abner is leaving some scorched earth here to bring David to his rightful place on the throne. And this is all after, by the way, he has killed Asahel. That was in the previous chapter. That was part of what led to this, what elevated the whole gladiator 12 versus 12 guys thing to a full-on civil war. So Abner goes to David and brings him Michal, and he's let me go out once and assemble all Israel for my lord the king, so that you may so they may make a compact with you, that you may rule over all that your heart desires. So David sent Abner away, and he went in peace. In verse 21. Now this is a big issue for Joab, all right, who I believe was the commander of David's army, and that he had a part to play in the previous chapter as well. So the drama unfolds even further. Joab is furious. He's furious with David for letting Abner go in peace. And he chases Abner down and kills him. And let's see, in verse 24, Joab's reasoning as he's leaving David's presence to go find Abner and kill him, he says, "What have you done? Look, Abner came to you. Why did you let him go? Now he's gone. You know Abner, son of Ner. He came to deceive you and observe your movements and find out everything you're doing." He's lying here. The truth is, he's furious about Asahel being killed in the previous chapter, and he wanted a crack at him. He had the chance to kill Abner, and now Abner's gone, and so he has to go track him down. David was genuine in letting Abner go in peace, and Abner's intentions were authentic as well. He was just fed up. He was massively insulted by Ishbosheth's accusation at the beginning of the chapter, and it was legit. It was for real. And so then when David finds out that Joab has killed Abner, he freaks out, and he just speaks this condemning word in verses 28 and 29 over Joab and his house, which is remarkable because David's related to Joab. Then so I mean, again, like David is exalted and loved and cherished and everything by the people of Israel, but people of Judah specifically here, but he's kind of a jerk. Verse 31, then David said to Joab and all the people with him, "Tear your clothes and put on sackcloth and walk in mourning in front of Abner." That is to say, they are now to be a part of the funeral procession. As Abner's body is taken out of town, everybody's to put on sackcloth and ashes, which is a traditional sign of mourning, and walk in front of his body. And then you have another Psalm of David. Like David, we think of him as the giant slayer and the king and all this, the ladies' man. All right, Solomon came by it honestly, but he's also a poet and can play harp. All right, seem like kind of pansy-like traits. I'll be honest. I'll be real with you. But back in this day, like you were the stud if you could play harp and write poetry, right? Because man, everybody loved everything that David did. So then everybody wept, and they see the authenticity of David's mourning and grief over Abner's death, and how they try to encourage him to eat. And then in verse 35, he's like, "No, let God deal with me, be it ever so severely, if I taste bread or anything else before the sun sets." Like he insists on fasting, and this is seen as a gesture of authentic grief by the people, and it makes David rise in their estimation even more. Verse 36 is, to me, the most critical verse in understanding the whole chapter. All the people took note and were pleased. Indeed, everything the king did pleased them. That is dangerous. That is a dangerous, dangerous thing. Think on a way that you might illustrate this text when you teach it. Draw from personal experience regarding the honeymoon phase of a relationship or a job. When I was first hired here, I did enjoy like a nice honeymoon phase with the people of the church. But I'll be honest with you, I was eager for that to be over. And it's not that I didn't enjoy being invited to dinner and people showing up at my house with lunch and gifts, and just I loved it. I loved it, especially because you guys made my wife really, really happy. First Baptist Church Windermere, you have spoiled my bride, and for that reason, you've made me a happy pastor. Okay, but I was eager for the honeymoon to be over because I knew it was just a honeymoon. All I really accomplished was just getting the job, and that was God's sovereignty, because there were guys with way more impressive resumes than mine, way more experience and better education and all that when I was hired here. It was just God who called me. So I was eager for the honeymoon to be over, and then I wanted that affection from the people of this church because I'd proven myself a faithful pastor who was filled with the Holy Spirit and bearing fruit in the ministry. Like I didn't want people to show me and my family such an outpouring of love simply because of the title of pastor, although that is a very good trait for a church to have, to hold their pastors in esteem, and we consider ourselves the luckiest pastors in the world. I wanted that to come from a place of earned respect, and I'm grateful to have that now. I really am. It means more to me now that after serving here for years, it still feels like the honeymoon. That's pretty cool. After working on our 4th year here, you guys haven't gotten sick of me yet. So I'm grateful for that. You guys will catch on one day, and hopefully I can stall until that time comes. But in the meantime, we cherish it and we love it. It's a dangerous place to be in that honeymoon phase, because this thought of being the golden boy who can do no wrong removes some degree of accountability, and maybe just think in your own context about a phase in your own life in which that was the case. And this is definitely David's honeymoon stage. This blind eye that the people of Israel have towards David will prove to be fatal to Uriah. It will prove to be fatal to men of his army. It'll prove to be massively detrimental to his legacy as king, even though he does get redeemed after the whole Bathsheba incident. But we take this now and we apply it practically, and that similarly, students who have no accountability in their lives can really mess up, and students who can look on the outside like they have everything together are often the most tortured by sin. So take this and think about it. Think about how it applies specifically to your context if you're working with middle school girls, high school guys, things like that, because it's going to look different in all of those pictures. If you're a parent teaching these to your own children, then that might bring up some interesting, awkward conversations. You might want to give your student the chance to express his or herself to you authentically without. You decide how far this goes, obviously, but without fear of repercussions of discipline, just for the sake of getting an authentic answer. You might look at, under JesseTheCampbell.com, the free online student pastor, under teacher training. I think it's towards the bottom now as we've kind of grown our repertoire. It's called Authentic City. Teachers at First Baptist Church Windermere Student Ministry, if you guys want to bring back an idea like Authentic City, then you might do that. You might even ask, okay, how many of you guys right now are like David? Everybody loves you, but you're actually a jerk. Again, you word that appropriately. I can't imagine some of my ladies teachers saying that to some of our girls. I could see Frank the Tank saying that. I could see you, Frank, saying those words, and maybe Kevin, but Kevin would smile as he said it. But just how many of you guys are like David? Everybody thinks you've got your act together and you can't do any wrong, but on the inside you're struggling, you're falling apart. Give them an opportunity, maybe through that written word, anonymous letter kind of thing, just like we did with Authentic City, to give them the chance to vent that and be discovered and be known. Kind of like we talked about in the video Busted. That's the thing that a student wants more than anything in the world sometimes, is to be busted, to be fully known, have all their secrets out there, and still be loved anyway. So that's where you go with this. I'm going to pray that the Holy Spirit really takes it and runs with it. If you don't want to do the whole written word thing, card thing, then you might even just have this sort of calling on the carpet moment right then and there. Just say like, okay, I want to give somebody the chance to just be authentic and real and raw and just speak up right now and say, I'm not who you guys really think I am. All right. or the written word thing might give them some degree of solace. Take into consideration whatever it is you plan. Feel free, please. First Baptist Windermere teachers, give me a call and let me know what you're thinking as you brainstorm some possible ways to give them the chance to do this. Be mindful of first-time visitors who are in the room. Because we don't want to call them to say like, hey, what's your name again? Anyway, tell us your darkest secrets now. Right? And also kind of prep them beforehand. They're like, look, these guys are going to say something in a trusted environment, and we've known each other for a long time, and this is why we're doing this, and there's no pressure. You don't have to participate in this unless you just want to. And that would be a really cool way for us to actually jumpstart a relationship out of thin air, but that can't be forced. So, absolutely, please feel free to just observe, participate, or even say no thanks to this exercise. I love you guys. I appreciate you so much. I can't wait for camp. It's going to be massive. We're bringing a group of over 100 people, which is great. So I love you. You keep it up. I see fruit in our ministry. I know that the summer months are usually kind of down, but I still see fruit. We baptized a student last night. I led another student to Christ over lunch yesterday. We had barbecue, and the Holy Spirit brought salvation. So that's a pretty good lunch. I love you guys. God's moving in your ministries, and I'm here for you. If you guys ever want to set up a time to come to my office and sit and talk about your classes, I'm here for you. And if you ever want me to come in and audit, observe, and critique and coach as you teach, then please, absolutely let me know. I'd be happy to do that for you. And I want you guys to know I'm praying for you. I've got to go catch a meeting I'm late for right now, but I love you, and I'll see you guys this weekend.